And when he came to the parking lot, he comes out, and he sees people outside, and no one even says hello to him. He's a visitor in a church parking lot. And then he gets in there, no one even gives him a bulletin, right? So he gets to the bulletin, and he said, why is everyone treating me like this, you know? Why is this visitor not being talked to? He's sitting in the pew by himself, and the worship's going on. The pastor didn't even introduce himself to him. Why were these people treating this man like an alien? Why were they treating him inhumanely? Why were they treating him, as the scripture says, as a goat? They were treating him inhumanely. Why wouldn't they do that? Where was the hospitality? Why would they do this to this man? As he sat there alone, no one talked to him. Even after they greeted each other, no one went to him. Why would they do this? So we're going to talk about goats and sheep. And they treated this man like a goat. And we're going to talk about goats and sheep. Goats were not worth as much as the sheep were. The sheep had, obviously, the wool. So what Matthew is doing here is he's talking about Jesus coming back. He's saying Jesus is coming back. And he thinks Jesus is coming back immediately. He thinks he's coming back in this near future. So he's saying, God, Jesus is going to come back, and he's going to separate the sheep, which means the good, from the goats. And the sheep will be on the right side, the goats will be on the left side. So he's going to separate unrighteous from the righteous. Goats will be the righteous, the sheep will be the righteous, the goats will be the unrighteous. So that's what he thought. He thought Jesus was coming back. But 2,000 years later, we know Jesus still isn't here. So this text more applies to the present. We're going to stay in the present tense. As Matthew goes in to do unto the least of these as you do unto me. As he says in verse 40. Do unto the least of these as you do unto me. What does he mean by this? Now what this means is the Christians who were proclaiming Jesus' name, they had to walk miles and miles, and they needed shelter, they needed clothing, they needed drink, they were locked up in prisons because they were persecuted. They wanted people to come visit them and help them out, talk to them in prisons. So they were being persecuted. What they're saying is all these people that aren't helping the Christians who are proclaiming the gospel, if they're not feeding them, if they're not clothing them, if they're not giving them drink and not visiting them in prison or persecuting them, they're also persecuting Jesus Christ. So that's what they're talking about. The Christians, the early Christians, if they were not giving them shelter, they were also not giving shelter to Christ. If they were persecuted, they were persecuting Christ. This is what do unto the least of these means. And we're going to stay in the present tense, but we're going to use the metaphor, the analogy of sheep and goats. Today is Holy Trinity. I'm not going to bore you to death with the Holy Trinity, confuse you with the Holy Trinity, because it is confusing. I'm going to talk about another Trinity. The youth, which we touched on earlier. We're going to talk about the adults, and we're going to talk about the elderly. That's the Trinity we're going to talk about. Now, we can all be sheep, and we can all be goats. We can all be goats and be horrible, mean at times, but we can also be good sheep at times. It's just human nature that we have inside of us. So our youth, a lot of our youth, they come up and they're bullied, they're cruel to each other. They act like goats. They're cruel. They bully, they're rude to each other. They harass each other. They put things on social media to humiliate each other. This is our youth. So there's a story that I read from the great Christine Brennan on Facebook. These kids went out to sit down and to have dinner. And they were acting like goats. They ordered all this food, right? And then they just decided they were not going to pay. And they got up, left, and the waitress caught the last stragglers coming out. The waitress works 2 jobs and goes to college, and she caught them, And she says, you guys need to pay. And they said, what do you want us to do? And walked out. This is our youth. How could they do this to this woman? How did our youth, how can they be so cruel? How can they act like goats or other animal like a donkey? How can this happen? Our kids, we have to nurture them into Jesus Christ because they can be goats at times. They can do these types of cruel things that really could have hurt this waitress, could have gotten her fired and hurt her restaurant as well. But they do these things. A teacher said, a lot of our teachers are burning out because, and these good teachers are burning out because the kids, they blame the teachers instead of the kids. The parents blame the teachers instead of the kids. A lot of our teachers are burning out because they're blaming the teachers instead of the kids. And the teacher writes online, he says, stop enabling your kids. Let them go and be bored. Let them be bored because that creates imagination. And teach them gratitude because none of them have gratitude. Some of them have, the ones that I've been dealing with in the school systems, he's saying, they don't have gratitude. They don't know how to give thanks. They just want more. You give them something, they want another one. And he writes on there. This is why teachers are burning out. You can't blame the teacher. You got to blame the student. Not the teacher's fault. I mean, in most cases. So this is the generation. This is what's going on with our, they can be goats. But they can also be sheep. You see, a lot of our kids are doing great things. You look at Ryan, you look at Dale Jr., they're doing great things. And kids are going down to the food pantry, they're working in the thrift shop. They're doing all these great things in the church. They have programs in the high schools and different programs that you have to work, you have to give back. And when you're giving back, you're doing unto the least of these as you do unto me. And that's what's going on. That's how you get them through these programs. To understand how important it is to give back to others that are in need. And that's our kids become sheep. And we nurture them as Marcia brings all her children, all her grandchildren, and others bring their grandchildren. To understand Jesus Christ, it teaches them how to be sheep and not goats. Let's be honest, we can all be goats at times, but we can also be sheep. When we know Jesus, we know how to be sheep. Do unto the least of these, you do unto me. Now we said that children are cruel. Let me tell you something. Adults can be even crueler. They can be goats. There's a woman watching a rugby match of her son who's a little overweight, and the women are sitting there and they're saying, oh, this child, he's slowing down the team. He's overweight. They're mocking this child. Why is he even playing? And the woman says to the ladies, she says, that is my son. These women were acting like goats. And the goats, as soon as she said, this is my son, they got to the other side of the field as fast as you can blink. And then she went on social media. She was so fired up. She said, how could you do that to my son? This woman stood up for her child and was being a sheep because she was standing up for her child. She said, he does the same exact practice, runs the same miles, does the same drills. Why can't my child play on the same team? And how can you be so rude and ignorant to put him down and be so cruel, to be such a goat? She's standing up for her child and is being a sheep. They can be cruel. Adults can be cruel. As one man in the subway, he says, people call me all kinds of things. They call me hobo, they call me bum, they call me trash. He said, that's not what bothers me. He says, what bothers me, what really bothers me, as cruel as adults are, or people can be, is people walk by getting back on the subway after they're done their work, and they have somewhere to go. They have a home to go to. They have families. But I have nowhere to go to. I have to find a place in the subway to stay. Where is do unto the least of these as you do unto me? Where is the dignity? Why are they treating this man like a goat inhumanely and not treating him with compassion and kindness? But we as adults can be sheep. As a woman was in an urban town, and she's walking the streets, an adult woman, and she's walking the street, and she smiled at a homeless man. And that homeless man says back to her, "Thank you for that smile, because it's been months, years, since someone has smiled at me or even recognized me. Thank you for that smile." Do unto the least as you do unto me. We have to treat people as humans, not as goats. We treat them like sheep, because in God's eyes, we are all sheep. It's up to us if we're going to act like goats or sheep or not. The elderly, you don't do anything wrong. You're perfect. Absolutely perfect. Lorraine's perfect. Harry, perfect. The elderly, actually, they're not really elderly. Yeah. We'll put them in the adult category. Elderly, they can be goats too. There's a lady in the community that used to get upset because the swimming pool, the kids were too loud. They were swimming during the day. And she was all upset. They were swimming during the day, making too much noise. The kids would be playing ball. They would hit the balls in her yard. She would take the balls from the kids and not give them back. She was being a goat. And then she would go gossip down the street to other people that she was friends with about how bad these kids were, how bad the family was, how bad their friends are. Being a goat. But the elderly, you guys amaze me. You have pioneered the way for us, given us everything, have taken care of us, have fought wars for us, and we thank you for that. And we owe you our respect. But you've always taken care of us. You still take care of us. There's a 92-year-old man just last year was down in the park feeding the homeless, right? Feeding the homeless, taking care of the least of these, being a sheep. And next thing you know, the police come and arrest him for feeding the homeless. So they put him in jail, and then he gets out, and guess where this man goes? Right back to the park and feeds the homeless. Can I get an amen for this 92-year-old man who's taking care of the least of these? Amen. Yes. You can be sheep, not goats. This 92-year-old man is making a difference. We are here to make a difference. We are making a difference in the thrift shop, in the food pantry. We are being sheep is what we are called to do. Don't think that, besides Pastor Gary, that we're priests or pastors are wonderful, great people, that we're always sheep. Don't think that, because we're not. We're regular human beings. We're goats. Except Pastor Gary.
No, he was a goat.
We can be sheep and goats. We're not perfect. Don't ever put anybody, any human being on a pedestal. The only person you put on a pedestal is Jesus Christ. That's the only person you put on a pedestal. As I was walking the streets of Philadelphia one time, I was walking down the streets with my friend Josh. And Josh takes out a $20 and gives it to a homeless man. I said, "Josh, what did you just give that homeless guy $20 for?" You just gave him $20. And he looks at me, he says, "Steve, I don't know when my last paycheck will be." And it hit me. And I said, I don't know when my last paycheck will be. That could be me someday. That could be you someday. That could be us someday. We don't know when our last paycheck is coming. And it hit me that I was a goat, not a sheep. That could be me. Do unto the least of these as you do unto me. We have to remember that. Always. We're going to act like goats. God looks at us as sheep. We have to act like sheep. We have to remember, do unto the least of these as you do unto me. But whatever happened to that man that the pastor never even said hello to in the church? How could they treat him so bad? Like a goat. inhumanely. You had these people in the congregation who thought they were sheep too good to talk to him. Well, they were announcing the new pastor that day, and this man who was not dressed very nice, Donna Kay was wondering what I had in here, but he was probably dressed because it was cold out with a scarf. He probably had a blanket maybe because it was cold around him, because that's all he had. And then he had a hat, this man that no one would talk to. He put the hat on. Probably wasn't an Eagles hat, it was a hat. So, and he comes up, and he starts walking up as they announce the pastor, and he goes up to the podium, and these sheep are wondering what this goat's doing. What is this goat doing? He says, I am your new pastor. Do unto the least of these as you would do unto me. And he stepped down, and they had to be feeling like goats. These people who thought themselves so high to not even say hello to this man, their new pastor, had to be feeling like goats. He caught them. He caught them. So we have to remember to be on edge. To be, the least we can do is treat each other like human beings. Treat everyone like a sheep, not like a goat. Do unto the least of these you do unto me. Remember that over and over and over again. So I saw a homeless man one time, and it didn't say in need of beer, drugs, in need of food, in need of money. It said in need of kindness and compassion. A man was holding a sign up that was homeless, because people were treating him inhumanely. The least we can do is treat him righteously. And I say to you, God looks at us all like we're sheep. We have to act like sheep. And I say to you, I am not a bum. I am a human being. I am not trash. I am a human being. I am not a hobo. I am a human being. I am not a goat. I am a human being. I am not a goat. I am a sheep, a child of God. Treat each other like sheep, and remember to do unto the least of these as you would do unto me. Amen.